Coming up in the Bahamas Tonight, did beach vendors get the access they agitated for?
Protesters ripped down the fence that blocked access to the beach after marching over the bridge and joined by union leaders.
There is nowhere in the region where you cannot have beach access.
Opposition leaders also joined the march as protesters occupied Paradise Island.
We'll bring you all the details, so stay tuned.
Also, we're hours away from the gender equality vote in the House of Assembly. What are the implications for you in this vote? Also,
the Cobras will repeat as champion.
Back to back, the Cobras from CC Sweeting repeat as Hugh Campbell champions. They take out the Sunland Baptist Stingers. Highlights and reaction in ZNS Total Sports. The Bahamas Tonight, the National Report, starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
In a matter of hours, parliamentarians will take a crucial vote that could lead to a historic move for the Constitution of the Bahamas. Good evening, everyone. I'm Charisma Robinson.
And good evening, Bahamas. I'm Altavice Munnings. The 4 amendments to the Gender Equality Bill will move out of committee tomorrow when the House members meet. That important vote is expected to take place, and there must be a 3/4 majority in favor of the amendments before it can be approved. And while scores are expected to gather on the outside of Parliament to witness history and to show solidarity and unity for the vote, there's also expected to be a unified stance in support of the amendments. Our Clint Watson is live tonight at Parliament Square, where government parliamentarians are gathering for caucus. Good evening, Clint.
Altavice is pretty much quiet here now in Parliament Square, but we know that's a far cry off what we can expect tomorrow when perhaps history will be made for the Commonwealth of the Bahamas upstairs in the halls of the House of Assembly in Parliament. Now, we can tell you at this hour, members of the government parliamentary team are in meeting right across the road, not too far from where I am, in the Cabinet office. The government parliamentary team are coming together to obviously get their final thoughts and issues and discussions on the gender equality bill amendments. Of course, we can tell you they're meeting today with lower and upper house representatives of their team. Earlier this afternoon, the opposition did the same thing at the F&M's headquarters on Mackey Street, meeting with their parliamentary team to make sure they're on the same wavelength, same page with this issue of these referendum and what will happen when that vote takes place tomorrow. Both teams are expected to come out united in their efforts to move these amendments and, of course, bring, a new paradigm shift to our Constitution, which, of course, will be given to the people through referendum to vote. We can tell you more and more organizations are now declaring their support for these amendments to the bills. Yesterday, we told you about several religious organizations. We told you about the Global United Fellowship and Bishop Neil Ellis, the Anglican Diocese with Bishop Leish Boyd. Also heard from the Church of God of Prophecy, Bishop Franklin Ferguson. Today we're hearing from the Baptist community, the Reverend Dr. William Thompson, in a statement saying the Baptist is fully supporting the amendments to the gender bill. In a statement, he says, as Baptists, we are convinced that the passage of these bills will further the growth and development of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. It is indeed regrettable that in 2016, the debate affirming women as deserving rights continues. So they're pledging their support and encouraging others to support. The Catholic Diocese also making their support known. The Most Reverend Patrick Pinder, through a statement, says the proposed amendments to our Constitution are good and they are needful. This is a matter of profound national significance, far beyond mere politics. All Bahamian citizens of goodwill should support these proposed changes. That's what it's been like all week, hearing more and more organizations who are becoming vocal on the matter. Before, it was just mainly female organizations and women coming forward. Now we're seeing a lot of men and leaders in the country coming forward and pledging their support. What will happen tomorrow is parliamentarians will meet in the House of Assembly, where they will take the historic vote. As we know, it will require 2/3 of Parliament to support all that's 38 seats. Now, of course, you need 2/3 of those votes in order for that to be passed. And if it's passed, then it goes to the people who will make a decision through a referendum. Now, many of you are wondering what will happen if they vote yes or vote no. Will government respect it? Government has to respect the will of the people when it comes to the Constitution. Nothing can be amended in the Constitution unless the people, through a referendum, agrees to it. Now, we can tell you that Prime Minister Christie has been making an appeal all week and since last week for persons to come to Rawson Square to fill the square while the vote is going on in a show of solidarity. So we expect Rawson Square to be very busy tomorrow morning as people come out, organizations come out to show their strength in seeing these amendments passed that will make equality for male and women finally documented on the books of Parliament. We can also tell you that there are special interest groups that will be out here tomorrow also supporting the event. One thing we're told will happen is parliamentarians are supposed to be unified on the effort. Now, we're hearing from inside sources that the opposition and, of course, the governing party will walk across from Rawson Square to Parliament together, holding hands united. Whether that happens tomorrow, as we're hearing, we will see come tomorrow. But we're told it's expected to be an historic day that will change the landscape as we know it of the Constitution for equality for women. Live at the House of Assembly, Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.
Thanks so much, Clint. Now, as parliamentarians prepare for that vote tomorrow, members of the Constitution Commission have made their rounds across the country sharing the gender equality message. The bills primarily deal with citizenship and equality. Head of the commission, retired Justice Ruby Nottage, paid particular attention to Bill number 3, which refers to a man who has a child out of wedlock born to a foreigner.
An unwed father is naturally a single man who is not married, but it could be a married man. An unwed father would be a married man who is not married to the mother of the child. So it's a child born out of wedlock to a married man. The unwed mother and the unwed father are not on an equal plane. So we're seeking to bring equal rights both to our two unwed Bahamian citizens and to our children, our sons and daughters. And I think this is so important. It strikes at my very heart to think that the children who have nothing to do with the fact that the father's unmarried and he's Bahamian, or the mother's unmarried and she's a Canadian, they have nothing to do with that. And yet the consequences are so heavy.
Now, Bill 4, which seeks to end discrimination based on sex, involves the insertion of the word sex in Article 26 of the Constitution so as to make it unconstitutional to discriminate based on whether someone is male or female. Now, this has also sparked controversy as many believed it will lead to same-sex marriages.
The Constitution will now say that sex means being male or female. That has tremendous consequences, that our Constitution says that sex is defined in this way. Any court seeking to define sex as it appears in the Constitution must look at the Constitution. The court cannot go outside and say, oh, but we would like to define sex as such and such. And so, in a way, you know, this is a better safeguard against same-sex marriages than anything could ever be.
Despite government's intervention, those vendors on Cabbage Beach again took to the Sydney-Poitier Bridge, where they caused traffic to come literally to a standstill.
Arjun Ferguson tells us that vendors were not alone.
It took less than 30 minutes for Cabbage Beach vendors, joined by members of the Free National Movement and the Democratic National Alliance, to make their way over the Sydney-Poitier Bridge, bringing traffic to a crawl as they marched to the entrance of Cabbage Beach, hoisting placards protesting the now temporary access to the site. Now, the fence at the beach rolled aside earlier in preparation for their arrival. Once there, protesters flooded the gateway onto the beach site, but the matter quickly escalated as the angry crowd tore the fence down and got combative with police. They claim that temporary access is not enough.
I was arrested for standing up for what I believe in and the only thing I know about my only terms of income. I can't go to nobody. You want me to go over the hill and pick up a gun, pick up the drugs?
We are going to go back to the courts to make certain that the courts understand that the Bahamian people have spoken.
F&M leader Dr. Hubert Minnis and DNA leader Brandel McCartney showing their support as Cabbage Beach falls within the boundary lines of the Montague constituency. Area MP Richard Lightburn admitted that he had not had a chance to meet with owners to assist in finding a resolution.
We had a similar problem with Atlantis when Atlantis first came. The F&M government entered discussion with Atlantis, and Atlantis agreed and had made provisions for the taxi cab drivers, the vendors, and all vending personnel. We are requesting the same.
Union leaders also joined in on the cause.
There is nowhere in the region where you cannot have beach access. We are supposed to be setting an example as a tourist destination, so we need to provide beach access.
For years, we've been talking about trying to organize what we call the informal sector. These people make a living by going, accessing that beach and selling their goods to our tourists.
This is about the rights of the Bahamian people being violated, but it seems as if we're having some resolution.
Meanwhile, a taxi driver was arrested during Monday's protests. Images of that encounter made the rounds on social media. President of the Taxi Cab Union demanded his release.
He is still in police custody. I demand the immediate release of him. I demand that.
Now, after the dust had settled from this morning's protest, the beach vendors were able to be on the beach to sell their wares and to continue service. Janae Noel Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
ZNS News spoke with Tourism Minister the Honorable Obi Bolshkam on the matter, particularly as many tourists were inconvenienced by the dispute.
They argue that having made the purchase from Brookfield was responsible for ensuring that a second path would be found for people to enter the beach. Now, that's really the issue. The issue is getting on the beach. The beach is open to Bahamians, open to everyone, but getting on the beach, and that's the issue, that path that's been there traditionally, and that is why we've been arguing that that has been an access point for years, for decades, and we've been trying to find a way to get access to appreciate that position and work with the government and ensure that the path remains open.